We are so excited to have you. I mean, I need to talk about how we met for a second because we met at New York Now, which
Yeah.
is a place where basically your eye comes to life. You are a curator, you are someone who helps brands like come and show up and share what they're doing around the world. And I have to say, I've said it before to you every time I see you. When I went to New York Now, I literally walked in and I was inspired. But then I went to this one booth that was called like The Journey and Narratives and Global Handmade.
Yeah.
And it felt like I had walked into my life. It felt like I had walked into my apartment. It felt like I had walked into the apartments of my clients because we live very similarly with art around us, with global input and culture. And
Yes.
I was filled of love, filled of tears. I was just moved because I
Oh,
said, wow, there's someone here that is just like me. And I needed to meet you. And then you showed up, not magically, because there's no such thing as coincidences, but you
yeah.
came to your booth that you were curating. And we
Oh,
connected, we talked, and here we are right now, just creating some magic together. So thank you for coming on this podcast, Dondrill. You
oh,
are incredible for the work that you do.
you, Stephanie. I mean, I'm lucky that I met you, that you came to the show, and you affected my life in that moment. It really, and to be sitting here today with you and having a conversation, I can't tell you how excited and I'm privileged. And so, thank you.
Aw, well, thank you for being here. And just to give a little bit more, you're a creative consultant, but also the founder of an incredible brand called AHMESA. And I want you to tell us, what is AHMESA? What is this incredible brand that everyone needs to get their hands on?
Oh, thank you so much. A mesa is to the table, which means to the table in Portuguese. It is a artisanal farm to table experience. A mesa was designed to bring people to the table. It was designed for the good life. It was designed for us to amaze your table. And so, in that, we have a selection of products that are largely salt based, and we have some really exciting spices that are North African and Middle Eastern. And we feel that pantry essentials are important. And Ameza was inspired by my journeys, much like yours in beauty, traveling around the world, being a global citizen, because I've always embraced the fullest in humanity. And for me, that always included the entire world. Um, Eating abroad and being welcomed at so many tables at so many different cultures. I'm also married into a Middle Eastern Asian family, so for a long time now, and so all of that influences. And I come from farming culture in my own roots here, and so the table, handmade, what it represents to bring people together through food, through gathering. A meza is here to amplify that and invite you to that experience. And I think in our culture at large, it's to remind us of what that is. And so this fast pace that we have in eating on the run and texting and not paying attention. I grew up in a very intentional home that when it was dinner time, and we were called to the table, and there was conversation, there was debate, there was laughter, there were tears, there were like arguments, there was all of that. But what it did was it kept us together, and food was revered and it was important. And so I, with a meza, wanted to be a voice in bringing people back to the table and giving you some essential pantry ingredients that happen to be inspired by journeys in farming culture.
I love that. And when I saw the brand,
Yeah.
as a traveler, I could see the
Yes.
color inspiration. I could
Yes.
see the vision behind it because something that is very important for me to share to our audience is that yes, you're a founder of this amazing brand, and yes, you're a curator for this incredible trade show and a consultant for so many brands and
Oh,
so many movements out there. But your mission and your values are grounded in social impact and everything that
absolutely.
you do. So I want you to take us on this journey because I know that it didn't happen overnight.
No.
And I know that it's hard to get people on the same page when it comes to what it is that you're trying to do. But can you share with us a little bit about your story, your journey to beauty, your journey to bring this conscious social impact to the forefront in everything that you do? So go back
I'm gonna
when
go
you
back.
were a
Well, you're gonna be
wide-eyed traveler. A
you're gonna be
wide-eyed
surprised.
traveler.
You're gonna be surprised at this one. My journey in beauty started being a makeup artist, and that I pivoted to that. I came to New York to work for a film producer, and so my days were filled with stacks of scripts on my desk, and I would have to read through a script, do a detailed synopsis. Writing has always been a passion, and going through stories, and so in those synopsises, dissecting things for James to look through and decide if he wanted to read the script or option it for film. And so that happened. And then, that industry is, it's a lot of things for a woman coming in and coming in. And although I was traveled and had lived abroad once I left school, lived in England for a while, and it was amazing and got a chance to go, to Germany and other places. I wasn't prepared for the onslaught of a woman who my hope was to write, to produce, and then these conversations were very much that you have to pay your way with something that would devalue who you are as a woman. And luckily, I worked with a wonderful director who didn't represent that, but it was meeting the people around it. And I just wasn't prepared, and I wanted to keep it moving. And so, a friend of mine, mother was working for Chanel and Makeup Forever. And of course, Makeup Forever, that makeup quality was on Broadway, was being used in films. And so she said, we should try this. And I happened to meet a designer who needed an assistant. And he was designing gowns for local socialites, a gentleman, Dutch in South Africa, who lived on Park Avenue, and I became his assistant. So between the opportunity working with like come to work with Make It Forever, work with Abraham on this, I found myself entrenched in beauty, and so my journey started there. Became a makeup artist in retail spaces, and got an opportunity to have some print in Jane magazine, the New York Post. Did something with Instyle, and so I was really happy about that. But one of the things that resonated with me during that time was the everyday woman and what beauty represented to her. And I have always, believe it or not, been inspired by classic makeup looks. I know the extreme and fashion and celebrity, which is amazing and beautiful. But I was meeting everyday women, and I wanted to know, how could I bring you to makeup? How can I give you a routine? Here's your compact, here's your lipstick, here's a mascara, here is something that will inspire your day going out and feeling your best. And so I came to beauty through that space, and I've always admired it, because I thought if the everyday woman could gather a routine and have products that she can rely on and know how to pull herself together quickly, then I felt that I was making an impact during that time in beauty.
Wow, I think I knew a
I
little
didn't
bit
know
about
that.
that, but I think I was reading your resume and I saw, like,
Yeah.
banking but then
Hmm.
there was a transitional period, right? I think we all
Yes,
get into these industries and we do
absolutely.
what we love, a calling. Then we find out that the industry is not, 1, made for women
Nah, no,
like us to be able to grow, but
exactly.
also it's so surface, right? It's very surface.
Exactly.
No matter how much you believe me, I relate to that story of wanting to help women, be like, "Hey, like,
Mhm.
you need," because I didn't care about selling, I cared about women feeling good too.
Exactly.
So, we all have our transitional moments in our journey. For you, when did it happen and what did it look like?
So part of what it looked like in working in sales in that capacity was I was told by my leader at the time was, Dondrill, you have too much integrity to sell. And I thought, too much integrity. w- how do you, what do you come back with? Do you, are you being asked to compromise on your values? You're being asked to diminish character? You're being asked not to be authentic. And watching what was happening in the beauty industry at the time was, hey, you've got this problem, this cream will work for you, and knowing that that woman actually needed to go to a dermatologist and not buy this cream for $120. I just couldn't wrap myself around um, that kind of marketing because I always prided myself in making a connection with a person and I want to feel as if I've really supported you. And so I pivoted from sales in that way to doing trunk shows. We got a new leader that came in. He says, Dondrill, I've been watching you for a week and I would like to talk to you about something else. And that happened on a Monday. We met on a Wednesday and my life changed on a Thursday. New office, trunk show director, and proceeded to take a $500,000 business and Hans says, Dondrill, I want to do $1 million. I says, well, I better get up and get out of your office and get going. And so it started me on the trek of going out and sourcing product. What we did at Henry Bendel back in the day was we had open sea, much like the modeling agencies, where designers and founders would line up and we would do a review with our fashion director, senior buyers, and so forth. And so I was part of that segment and looking at what we were bringing into Henry Bendel and largely, these founders were women. So that was really exciting because they were often on second careers, starting something new, pivoting, making changes, and did that for, I want to say, 6 years. We drove the business by that spring to $1.7 million. And it really began to really just put just a vision in my life, looking at product, looking at women empowering their journey with starting brands. But there was one very particular moment where I had a designer who had gotten the praises of Anna Wintour in Vogue magazine, which of course that's everything. But she didn't want to talk to customers. She felt that being in a retail store and connecting with customers was somehow work that didn't need to be done. And I didn't, I was working hard not to judge her, but I thought the conversation in fashion and beauty felt at the time very surface, like you said. No one in my circle was talking about inner things. And so I came from theater. I came from really conscious, intellectual circles where people were read and we talked about the society. We talked about these things. And so that was a moment where I said, I want to take this luxury background in retail and work in film, and I want to take it to communities where I could give back, where I could support in facilitating platforms for founders and makers and places that perhaps wouldn't have that opportunity, but I know that it included a larger world. And so I set off traveling again.
Wow. So tell me about, you set off traveling. I think we can all relate. There's a moment in our lives where
Yeah.
we're doing what we thought we wanted to do, what we worked so hard
Mhm.
to get to.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden you're like, something doesn't feel right anymore. Like I'm
Right.
being called. And then
Exactly.
we book that ticket. Maybe it's a
Mhm.
one way, maybe
Yes.
it's to somewhere familiar, or maybe it's to a place you have no idea what you're
Exactly.
gonna know, but you know you just gotta go. And go is out there. Where
It's
was
out
this
there.
place for you?
My one of the biggest moments, and actually my first project in sourcing for international company that was in Cairo, where my journey was to Istanbul, Turkey. We were spending time there, just also connecting with family and relatives, but going to the Egyptian Bazaar in Sultanahmet near the Blue Mosque and many other tourist attractions there, it just took my breath away. The textiles, the carpets, the makers, the environment. And so I was sourcing for a store and looking at handmade, looking at culture through that lens of craft, making a connection through product, but people. And I thought this, where people live, where they are rooted from, and where that product gets a chance to go. We get to carry the culture and people and stories in that. We get an opportunity to connect the world a bit closer. And I said, this is it. Also, I wanted to support, as you know, Stephanie, in traveling, you're seeing so many artisans out who are not getting the pay that they deserve. They're not getting the reverence and the craft. They are just selling to make a living. And very often, if you're coming from a world powered country with an economy that people deem that is there's gold on the street, so we have lots of money when we're going abroad. They're often taking what they can. And so for me, I thought I would like to participate in the preservation of culture, in craft, in the exchange of culture through people and humanity. And that vehicle itself inspired me to pivot into home, pivot into things that were outside of the body. Your face and clothing, and clothing includes that, but it resonated for home because home is sanctuary, it's sacred, it's a place where you come to be comforted, where you can be yourself. And I thought if I can bring global culture into homes around the world by working with artisans and sourcing and connecting with retailers, then I am starting the conversation. I am bringing people closer, and that was the pivot for me.
Wow. As you're sharing this with me, I'm thinking
Yeah,
about so many of our
yeah,
amazing viewers, listeners
yeah,
who have come to me and shared those
yeah,
dreams too.
exactly.
We wonder, how do we do that, right? And
Mhm.
like we have this idea, we live it, we live this lifestyle,
Exactly,
home
exactly.
and spirituality and travel, but you were actually able to do it. You
Yeah,
did pivot, you made it happen. And so obviously your background with trunk shows and
yes.
seeing, life is funny that way. Somehow it all just kind of comes together,
It
right?
come it comes together and you just start finding I look at it as connecting the dots. And very often if something pops in you, there's a reason for that. And I think that part of our job and the journey is to connect the dots. And I have found that in my own creative process, when I am still, when I am tapped in, and when I am listening, um, and I visually and I'm not a wacky, I promise, but I actually can see the dots connecting. And I think that sometimes, y- you know, the universe will rise when the energy is placed out there. But if we are paying attention, I think that that's kind of our guiding star. And yes, is it a risk? Do you have to feel uncomfortable in going to pursue that? Yes. But if we can move past that little bit of fear, that message is coming to you for a reason. And if I find that if you are a creative person and being, if you don't listen or if you're not attuned, then sometimes those visions will move away. So it's important to find time and solace so that you can hear what that calling is, because there is something that you're doing that there's a moment that you go, this is great, but you know what? I'm not getting from it what I need to be getting from it. And if you are not surrounded by voices or being fed and growing, then you will stay stagnant, and you'll be less informed. And most importantly, you'll stay in comfort. And when you're in comfort, what do? We kick back on the couch and we stay because it's comfortable. It feels good. But you can't brave a path and being comfortable. So whatever you need to inspire you forward, whether it's that friend that says, "Hey, go for it," whether you stand up one day and look in the mirror and say, "I got this." We have to have those conversations. And I find that if you take a little step, it is uh, it's like you're signaling to the universe, I'm going to take this step, and you'll be very, very surprised how light just starts to open up and you start to see the path, and then you go.
It's I agree 100% with that. And when I was looking
Yeah,
at your resume, I
yeah.
had a big smile on my face when I was looking at your
Oh, thank you,
LinkedIn,
Stephanie.
which we're gonna share. I saw the path. I saw a woman with a vision that wanted and is paving that path right now. And so what I also noticed, if you can talk about it, is
Yes,
aside from New York Now, your resume goes back to even ABC Carpet and Home. So was
yeah.
that the first stop after this inspiration? Because I can't tell you how much
Yeah.
I spent time in that place, and I heard
Oh, it's
that you
amazing.
were behind one of the biggest beauty events there. So can you share
Yes.
just a little bit? Because there's so much that we need to cover, but
Oh
I
my
couldn't
God.
ignore that. I said, "Oh my God,
Oh,
I
I
need to
know.
hear
No.
more."
Oh, oh my God. Thank you so much. ABC was a very special place. because I had come back from traveling at that time. I was in France and Italy and sorry, in Spain, and I hit the ground, and I had also like bought jewelry from abroad, and so I started doing some local trunk shows called Style Nomad, and so nomadic style, taking the steps through the world. And so I did a few trunk shows, and we're doing it with jewelry because I had sourced things from my journeys, and an opportunity. A really good colleague from Henri Bendel, Gary Montanil, he called me because he said, Dondrill, where are you? What are you doing? Are you back in the States? And I said, yes. He said, I am working for this amazing store, and you have to come down. You have to come down there. They're looking for a manager. You did this. Trust me, this is the place for you. And I go and I walk in, and much like you, I just I I felt like my passport was being stamped at every inch that I walked. I looked around, I saw the ethos, I saw the world, I saw consciousness, I saw it in product, I saw people moving in a way that was flowing, and I thought, this is amazing. I went through like it's to the I just it was amazing. I Gary and I talked. I left. They called me like a day later, and they said, we want to talk to you. We got your resume. And I said, well, I'm on 23rd Street. I have on jeans. I'm not ready for an interview. They said, come, we'll take you as you are. And I run over there, and I go up to HR, and I meet with the CFO. I meet with the brand director. Like, it's a series of, they really were very mindful about the kind of people in terms of your character, your professional background, and even in energy. It was a really conscious community. And so I through this one day, a series of meeting three extraordinary women who were leading you know, I'm sorry, leading this path and supporting the business, who were speaking for the founder, Paulette, and had a great process, went through it all, met these wonderful women, left that afternoon. I was on the subway heading back home at about 5 o'clock. I got a call and said, we like to hire you. And she said, sounds like you're busy right now. I said, I'm on the subway. She said, it's okay. Just don't do anything else. we're, we'd like to hire you. So give me a call tomorrow. But I just want to let you know that. And so it's happened. And so ABC really brought me into home. It brought me into a looking at the kind of consciousness that I was feeling when I was abroad, sourcing and traveling and meeting friends and being with family. It brought it in a conscious retail space, which was something I had not seen before, and done at a scale level, high intention, the path laid out, real conscious retail through the lens of global, handmade, and ethos filled with value systems. And that for me was I grew a third eye.
I remember going
Yeah,
into ABC Kitchen, and for
yeah,
those that don't know what
yeah,
ABC Kitchen is, in a nutshell,
yeah,
it's a store in Manhattan.
yes.
It's ABC Kitchen carpet and rugs, but it is like you said, it's a passport to culture, but the most beautiful artisanal goods. Whoever did the inside interior design is God sent. I
Right?
actually would go there with my notebook and just sit there and just
Just
look
look.
up and just draw and visualize, because I said, this is the life I want to live. This is my home.
It's your home. That's the power of what they're able to create. And back to that first beauty event that I was able to conceptualize and lead with the events director was a beauty and wellness day. And I thought, Paula, if we can bring people, and it was largely women who wanted the beauty and wellness day, that we can bring them into a day of beauty through the lens of how we experience ABC. We had a partnership with Deepak Chopra, so there was a meditation space where there were talks, there was quiet time, there was a second level, and then the mezzanine where we laid out food, and we had conscious beauty and wellness brands. But every detail we were able to put into that event. Beauty is not just on the outside, it also goes into the inside. And so, thus, the restaurants that were a part of our community, ABC Kitchen, La Cucina, ABCV, which is the vegan one, they really pushed your full experience, but also not just for you to experience it, was intended for you to evolve your life. And so that beauty day was the first kickoff that we did. Felt proud because I'd had a beauty background and I thought I loved beauty, but I wanted it to be a part of life and move in a very conscious way. And so our first day, we did about $17,000 in sales that day, which was unprecedented because we it was the kickoff of the event, and that was the start of the beauty wellness days that always sold out because people want. They don't want just to buy product. They want to step in and be transformed, and that's a bit of part of what you're doing with around the world beauty. You're transforming experiences, and so that was a powerful space to be. So felt really wonderful to be able to partner to contribute to that and kind of
Well,
and conceptualize it.
when I saw that, I said, "She
Yeah.
not only has changed my life once with Narratives and Global Handmade at New York
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
she's changed my life twice with ABC
Oh,
Kitchen Beauty
Stephanie,
Hall
thank
this
you.
event." I till this day have the beauty and wellness. They give these like long, like just a sheet with the
Yes,
schedule in it.
exactly.
I have that in
Yeah.
my book of memories because
Yes.
what I saw there, especially with
Mhm.
Deepak and the
Yes.
brands and the energy, it was beautiful.
Oh, that
It was
beautiful.
so you've changed my life twice now.
No, I'm just so humble that because I think that, we work to do things that are led in our heart. And I once again, I'm a listener of things around me in terms of the internal space and looking to connect the dots. And the fact that it resonates, that's the intention that I wish for all brands. And when you're thinking about that path, it's part of the foundation roots. And that was a true intention of the brand. It was meant to transform how you lived, how you saw your sacred space, but most importantly, to empower you with selections to make those choices. And then there was education to give you tools of this is how it's done. These are voices that you should be following and connecting with because here's information and you are welcome to enhance your life through these channels. And I think that that was something that listen, you felt it in looking at the roster. Me walking in the door every day, I knew that it was an opportunity for me to transform my own journey. And I think that whatever spaces that we end up in, particularly when we're driving the narrative for ourselves, when you are there, listen, learn. You are there for a reason. It is not just for the company that you're working for, the partnership. You are meant to gain something, to galvanize something from that experience. And so, walking in that, in that hearing, then you'll get the message. You will, and you'll leave with it. And that's I think that's a very powerful thing. It certainly has changed my life, and I live for that every day in terms of how do I transform, what lessons are for me to learn, and also what is there for me to share.
Absolutely. And, just a question for you, and then I
Mhm.
want to go on to the next question
Sure.
is before we, because you mentioned the word trunk shows, and that's what you used to do at Henry Bendel's. What is a trunk show?
So I'll unpack that. So I went on to be the director of trunk shows, and so this goes back to the open sea that we would have, and actually Barney's had one as well. So we would look at a brand, look at products, and enter into a trunk show, so that we're not fully bringing the collection in because we wanted to give lots of opportunities to brands, and so you don't always have budget to bring in every brand. You don't know how it's going to work on the shelves, and so one of the pathways for us was to create an opportunity of having a trunk show. So you come into a partnership with a retail, you'll do, and nowadays people are calling them pop-ups. It's the same thing. You come and you do a trunk show, and back people would pull out stuff out of their trunk, and so we loved it because you think about a trunk. You're at sea. You're a pilot. I mean, you're a pirate. What are you bringing back? Is in the trunk, and so we were, unveiling product, and so it's a very it's a safe channel, but it's a real opportunity. You get to come in, you do a show. Uh, Retailers get to see how their community responds to it, and for us, we were prime. I mean, we're Fifth Avenue, 56th Street, right next door to Harry Winston. So go to Harry Winston and get your diamonds, but come to Henry Bendel to experience trunk shows and discovery with product. And we had some incredible brands across from ready to wear to jewelry to clothing to textiles. And so, and then after doing successful trunk shows, if we found that the consumer demand really, really resonates with a brand, then that brand would go on the shelves at Henri Bendel.
Wow, I feel
Yeah.
all kinds of things. I'm
Oh,
like,
it was a really, really good time. I have to tell you, passing, connecting those opportunities. It really the kind of things that happen for collections and meeting customers. I had it just it's a great platform, and it's a wonderful where you have a low investment from the brand founder, but you also have this low investment from the retailer. You both get to test out if the partnership will work. And for if you are a brand and partnering up with larger retailers, you need prime commercial space. You are a guest in the house of the retailer. And so those partnerships are incredibly vital, and they're powerful. So, and to get invited in, you get to come and get invited to a house where the guests are coming every day. It's a great way to break ground.
wow. So it's no surprise. I'm going to fast forward a little bit
Yes,
that
of course.
you're now curating what I consider the most amazing booth at New York now, but you
Oh,
have a
thank you.
curated space that's called Journey and Narratives in Global Handmade. And your mission is just to tell artisanal stories of makers, their stories. Your brand is there as well, so you can capture
Yes,
it as well.
of course. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that journey because obviously you're doing all these great things, and now you're New York now is about the artisanal, it's about the artist, and globally. How did
Yeah.
that journey begin? And also, where are you today with it? Because from what I saw, it was impactful and
Oh, thank you
beautiful.
so much.
So tell me a little bit about that because you're not just I called you the conscious eyes of New York now, the visionary and
Oh
of
my God,
the
it's so
global
sweet.
world and
Yeah.
market. But you know best on what you do there, and I would love for you to share, that journey a little bit with us.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. So the booth was inspired by creating social impact and putting a lens on that. And so, with my background, I've been working with artisans in developing countries and communities for over a decade now. And so, whether we've worked in I worked in Pakistan, India, you name it. We've been around the world, and not just me, other consultants who are doing this incredible work. You get a chance to really put your footprint, but you get an up close look at the kind of vulnerable spaces that are in artisan communities, but most importantly, the talent. And the conscious consumer today wants to know where their dollars are going. And much like ABC, you get to choose to participate in changing the world. And you can do it through a lens of design and commerce. Everyone has a channel that they can choose to participate in. And so for me, that booth and given I was given a wonderful opportunity to highlight brand ethos and principles that I've been working in for decades. I'm sorry, for decades, for over a decade. Um, and with putting that booth together, it's taking all of our smaller artisanal brands that are global handmade, that are attached to an NGO, a founder, an artisan group, where when you are investing in that brand, uh, it's going through channels of fair trade, sustainability. Those dollars get to help to build sustainable development in those developing countries with those artisan groups so that we get fair wages, that they get brand investment, and they get to live a quality life. There are so many artisans around the world that are making incredible things, but very often we don't understand the dynamics of how they have to live. And so by highlighting brands who are activating in social impact, we're giving buyers an opportunity to make those kind of conscious principle investments. But at the same time, uh, you are not compromising on scale of design or beauty or aesthetic. I always tell buyers, you come through, look at the assortment. This is not charity. It's really intentional purchasing. And so the booth is designed to represent a global home and to give you an actualized space of how you can integrate beautiful design, take yourself and guests in your home on journeys with product from around the world. It just happens to be product that is attached to a larger supply chain of making an impact that will make a difference in the lives of artisans and humanity at large. And so that is the focus and the intention and ethos of that booth. And we align it with telling podcast stories so that you get to hear whether we're talking to founders in Beirut, Guatemala, we've gone to India, we've gone to Mexico, and so people can hear the voices of people and the artisans, but the booth represents intentional change, and you get an opportunity to participate in that.
I mean, it's worth every founder has to go there, just be
Oh, thank
inspired to
you.
shift into, not just having a brand, but having a brand that matters because it really is
Exactly.
about all of us as a unity.
Exactly. That's the message, Stephanie. I think that people you get to again choose how you want to participate. We have change makers who are cleaning plastic out of the ocean. There's a group that I watch there and Namibia who are working to get the baby seals who, because the ocean is trashed with so many garbage and plastic, things around the neck. They're a group of founders, not founders, but scientists and marine biologists that are cutting the wires off of baby seals,
Wow.
people who are recycling, farmers who are deciding to, hey, I need to use better soil. There is a way for all citizens to participate in change in the world. I'm a member of UN Women, and those 17 Sustainable Development Goals that have been established by the UN for 2030 are really obtainable. And there was a problem in the past with people thinking that only people in high places or elite circles got a chance to participate, but it won't really change until your everyday citizens feel that they too can contribute to changing the world around them, because this is where we live. And I can't remember who made the quote, but the quote was, "There is no planet B. This is the only one that we live in." And so, if anything that I can do to inspire engagement and choice, this is part of my journey and my mission, and I really hold it in a very dear place.
Powerful, and I wanted to talk about that as well. You've worked with artisans in developing countries for over a decade with your travels,
Yes.
separately from New York Now and with New York Now. Can you share a little bit about and also I do wanna mention also
Yeah.
as a founder, you're a
Yeah.
social entrepreneur with AHMESA, and there's huge impact with that brand that
Oh,
you created. Tell me about that because this isn't just another food brand. This is, again, a social impact movement that you're doing,
yeah.
combining all your expertise.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. I am so excited to share about this partnership that AMESA has developed with AIDS to Artisans, which is a nonprofit organization that has been around since the 1970s. I am privileged to be part of the ATA family. Um, we have worked in combination with Kellogg's, who's one of our funders, and we've got a few other investors, but Kellogg's Foundation has driven this initiative, and we are so proud. They not just make great cereal, but they are philanthropic and moving in the world. And so we've had this tremendous opportunity to partner with the three of us all together in working on social impact in food spaces. And this is a space that AIDS to Artisan has been working in terms of textiles and design, but this is our first food project where we're looking at artisans in vulnerable communities where they're sustaining food of various cultures, traditions, techniques that we want to preserve any craft form that is at risk, but we also want to roll out another iteration of what craft, what artisanal means in food is so important to all of us. We're all eating. And so if we can bring a global table to you through those channels. And so in this partnership with AMESA, what happened was I am a consultant for the organizations for many years now and said, Dondrill, we would love to partner with you on this project. And so I developed 17 recipes with for these artisans. And so, of course, was a lot of boxes going back and forth to Yucatan, Mexico. And we also worked with Casive, who does all like the health regulations and those kind of things. And so I wanted to take recipes that the artisans were using. It was not about you know changing ingredients. It was about expanding the resources that they have around them, because we know that if you're eating locally, food is going to be freshest. And so, in this, we really utilized ingredients, everything from Yucatan, Mexico. There are a few things that we source from northern Mexico. There's also a honey initiative, even with the Mexican government, where they've are putting more sustainable development into ecosystems with the honey, because they're known for incredible honey. And so we were able to work together and to do this project for Tamula, and it has been launched through AHMESA because we are looking to penetrate the U.S. market. And so I am so proud of this project. We launched last year at the Fancy Food Show, and we are headed in 2023 to Seattle, a global food show in Las Vegas in March, and then we will return to the Fancy Food Show in June in New York. So you will find a Meza and Tamula at these trade shows, and we're looking to connect. We never want people to compromise on taste. So it's important when I talk about social impact is that it is the principle, it's a foundation, but we're not compromising on design, taste, food, things that you would be proud to put on your shelves. It just happens to be through a mission and purpose driven initiative. And these are the kind of things that we love to inspire people to participate in, because then this way we collectively support in changing the world. And we're working on sustainable development and jobs that we can support the region and other regions like it around. And it's we are sitting in a more powerful place, and these are where's it's an opportunity for us to share in that. So
Absolutely. And what inspired you to bring this brand? You're obviously working, with artisans.
yeah,
You have your journey
yeah.
from point A to point B. But where was the moment when you were like, I need to do this, and I'm excited? Or did you see a hole in the market? Where share a little bit about why you started this incredible brand called Ameza, because it's so delicious.
So wow, and that so a meza, can I tell you, a meza was as as simple as wanting to, when you're traveling, and you know this, when you have a great plate of food and an ingredient, and how do you hold the taste? You can't hold the taste in your mouth for very long. There's a memory that's attached. But I thought, how can I bring that back with me? What can I uh, put on the table that people can open a jar or a box and immediately come to that place with me, that table, whether I was eating in Spain or Italy or France or Egypt, like where, how could I bring you there? And so that was the intention around a meza, in addition to, as I mentioned, what can I do to support bringing people back to the table? The table is a powerful place, and it was, at least growing up for me and my family. And so that, I thought, salt is a foundation of civilization. To say that the usage of salt dates back to about 5,000 years prior. It was uh, thought to be earliest seen as a usage in northern China, actually back in 6,000 BC or even earlier. So here is a natural mineral that has been the part of a cradle of the civilization, and it's so simple, but yet it has been so powerful to humanity, the preserving of meats, of foods. And I think about when you need a little taste of something, and when something's missing, what do people say? Oh, can I get a little salt? Can I get a little salt? And so it's simple, it's easy, and it also, looking at the various salts that I discovered in traveling. Um, you know, I grew up here in the United States, American family on table salt. There was no conversation about sea salt or the different gray salts that are in France, or this Cyprian salt that's like a diamond. It was just salt, right? But in traveling and eating at global tables, I thought, all these flavors, of these colors, these textures, and also I knew that simple food, as I mentioned, part of my family is a farming background, so there was whole food, no preservatives, just good classic food. I knew what a tomato looked like. I knew what lettuce looks like. I knew food. And I saw it coming out of the ground with my grandparents. And so I knew that in flavoring it, it could be as simple as that. And so salt was my vehicle, and it's also it made the difference in tasting things. And so I thought, this is what it is. This is what I'm doing at home, and let me share. And that's a meza, and come to the table, and there you are.
I love Ameza. I love the name. I love the
Oh, thank you.
branding.
Thank you.
Before I move on, I do want
Yeah.
to ask, how has the journey been to go from, you know, one moment pushing the voices of these artisans from around the world, and now bringing your own voice forward with the brand? I know it's a difficult one to do, especially because
Yeah.
the challenges. 'Cause when you want to make a difference, I feel like it's a lot. Show. I wish it was as easy as just filling a trunk, like you
Yeah,
said.
exactly. Yes.
It's just not
Right.
scalable. I tried it, right?
Right,
I've seen the
exactly.
journey of bringing Ameza to the forefront and being able to scale it and get it places. Because I think a lot of our listeners want to know because they have dreams. They've been somewhere and they're like, oh, like if only we could, or wouldn't
Right.
it be a great idea? And there's a lot of trial and error. So could you share a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, and just so people know that I'm still on that journey. A meza is sold in 5 stores. Sorry, six stores. One in Manhattan and four in Queens, and of course online at Lily Branch. I do I want to give some love to those brands. Fulton Market install downtown South Street across from Pier 17. Over 80% of the products on the shelves are designed by women, and also that community of Bob and Marge, partly responsible for working on the green markets in New York, and Casa Decor, an amazing artisanal food table out in Astoria, Queens. The founder is amazing. Euro Market, the best. You go in that market, the cheese, the olive oil. For us to be on the shelves in there, the founder, Peter of that market from Cyprus, we are so happy to be at the Euro Market and be amongst the choices. The Astoria gift shop, which she has an assortment where you'll see our salt, you'll see Tamula from our products from Mexico, and then you'll see beautiful crystal ornaments that are from Egypt. Once again, our global citizens are activating in Lily Branch online, which you'll have amazing food and you have stationery. So we're really proud of all of our partners, and there's more upcoming things. So one of the things that I learned a long time ago, and I'm still integrating into my life, but it was a aha moment. It was a talk that we had at ABC, and the name and the immediate of the founder escapes me, but what she said was so powerful. She said, for her, she said, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a founder of a business, and there is no work-life balance. I needed to find a way to incorporate what I do into my life. And when I heard that, I literally wrote some iteration of it down just to capture it as quickly as I could. And it made so much sense for me. So I take on that process of going the kind of life that I'm living, the kind of career that has been a calling, and been my chosen path of participation, and may it grow, is my work life balance is one life. And this is why it's really important for us to make conscious decisions about how we want to contribute. What drives us. We can always change our minds. Nothing's written in stone. You're hopefully will have many different journeys in your lives, but part of that is that it shouldn't be a drag. Sometimes it's stressful. There's no question about it. There are times you're like, oh my God, I need this for my brand. Even for Christmas, before Christmas, we were getting ready to travel, and but yet I had orders, and so I'm like, oh, I got to get this sample up, and I'm literally running to UPS. Okay, there's a sample for this person. Okay, did you get that? And running it all, and I thought, I have to get it done, because this is I remind myself when I get frustrated that I've chosen this. I've chosen this. So let me choose what I love so that my life is balanced in living the journey that I am choosing. So I say to myself, does Oprah say this when she gets up? I mean, I can only dream to be where she is, but what does she think? And I think, what am I complaining about? And I get those moments. There's no question, uh, figuring out the balance of it. But if you choose what you love and you look at your career as balancing your life, like, I'm this person, I make things, I travel, I build installations, whatever it is for you, write those things down, and you should be able to make lines of how they all connect, why you're doing it, what satisfaction it brings to you. What time of your day does it take up? So meaning that we need to try as much as possible. It is challenging at times to step into our day with the joy of the privilege to do what we want. So as I say to the girls, particularly, I had this conversation with my niece. We were having dinner for her birthday at La Cucina at ABC. Of course, I take her there. Um, I said, what you choose is going to be really important, because I said, you need to get as close to the field that you want to be a part of as possible. So, say for instance, if you're an accountant, right? If you are working in accounting and yet you want to work in food, well, you don't need to be at the accountant office. You need to be in some connective channel where food is. You're more likely to meet people that are like you, or that can offer insight and advice, or where forces get together and things grow. You need to be on the block of where you want to live. And I find that that's the thought process that I take on every day. This is my life, and it is my job to balance it through what I love and what I've chosen to participate in. And when it doesn't make me happy, then I have to re-examine that part of my life.
Absolutely. So, the question I ask everyone when they come on this podcast,
Yes.
at the end is, what is beauty? And what is beauty to
Mm,
you? Now that we've shared this experience together of getting to know
yeah.
each other, what is beauty to you?
Mm. Beauty, you know, very early on, like most girls, you grow up looking in the magazines and looking at your beautiful celebrities, and I thought that beauty was just the red carpet, because this is kind of how it's translated, and I think that has, with no fault of those people, but it also has sort of driven a culture where women are purely seeing ourselves just in how we look. And don't mistake this for not saying that to not take care of yourself, but that everything that was of value in you is on the outside of you. And through learning and experience, and when you start to deepen your practice in evolving the human being that you want to be, and defining what that eye is, that inner eye that will help to guide you. Beauty, for me, is balance. Yes, do I want to look great? I want to take care of myself. I grew up with women who took care of themselves, and I can look at my mom and my aunts. I mean, my aunt made ball gowns, and so I had that around me. Luckily for me, with the women of my family, but I learned that beauty is about balance, and so your beauty will radiate in how you present yourself, what you eat. What you eat, you eat, you eat. I say that 5 times, because that wasn't something that I could talk about years and years ago, because I wasn't making the connection. But now I know that if I want good skin, I know that I can't use it. I could use a good oil or good moisturizer, but it won't matter if I'm putting things in my body and I'm going for junk food, because they're not working. So I have learned that beauty is about inner balance with diet, eating good food, getting exercise so that the blood is flowing. It's also about balancing your stress, so that you can actually irradiate all that you want. So beauty is, for me, taking care of yourself, physical and mental wellness, and eating well. That's what beauty is to me.
Dondrill, thank you so much for being part of the Journey
Oh
to
my
Beauty
God.
podcast. I am honored. Where can we find out more information about you, Ameza, what you're up to?
Well, thank you, Stephanie. This has been tremendous. I am humbled to be here to talk with you. You're so amazing and you're such an inspiration. Um, you can find AHMESA at ameza.com. We are not selling online at this present moment. We're revamping our website. As I mentioned, we're being sold through store channels at this moment. But what I would love to tell you is that you can find us on Instagram. I would love if we could gain some followers. I had a crash of my prior Instagram account being hacked 2 weeks prior to our launch of the Fancy Food Show. It was a nightmare. So I have set upon the task of rebuilding our social media presence, and we've got some wonderful reels that have captured our story. We'll continue to bring you to the good life, amaze your table through AHMESA. So we are at um, AHMESA Table on Instagram. That's where you can find us. And of course, we're at meza.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. More to come on that. And we'll have locations listed at the stores that we're available in on our Instagram. And of course, if you're looking to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Dondrill Glover. And I'm also, if you're looking to connect with me at New York Now, you can follow me at dondrill.newyorknow on that Instagram, because that's all about the market life and connecting to that. And I would love to connect. And thank you for your time.
Well, I will definitely be following all of that and sharing that for our listeners.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of this awesome Journey to Beauty podcast. And thank you to our listeners for staying tuned and continuing to follow the journey to beauty. It is one that is abundant, that's beautiful, and is powerful. So, Dondrill, thank you so much. And we end this podcast with showing our Journey to Beauty podcast video.
Yay!